The 2024 college football season started on a sour note for the Florida Gators, with a disheartening 41-17 blowout loss at home against the Miami Hurricanes. The defeat not only marked a low point for the Gators but also cast a shadow over head coach Billy Napier's future at the helm. The game set an unfortunate record, with Miami scoring the most points ever against Florida in a Week 1 game in Gainesville, a sobering statistic that highlights the severity of the Gators' struggles. From the outset, it was clear that Florida was overmatched. Miami dominated in all phases of the game, leaving Florida fans with little to cheer about. The Gators' offense, which had hoped to show significant improvement, sputtered throughout the contest. The lone bright spot came in the second quarter when running back Montrell Johnson broke free for a 71-yard touchdown run, briefly injecting some life into the home crowd. However, this moment of hope was fleeting. The rest of the offense managed just 139 rushing yards, and when you exclude Johnson's big run, the numbers become even more alarming. Just 68 yards on 28 carries. Graham Mertz, Florida's starting quarterback, entered the season with expectations to lead the team forward in his second year as the starter. However, his performance against Miami left much to be desired. Mertz completed just 11 of 20 passes for a mere 91 yards before being forced to exit the game in the second half after taking a hit following an interception. With Mertz out, the Gators' already struggling offense looked even more lost, raising concerns about the team's ability to compete moving forward, especially with their daunting schedule. The loss to Miami only adds to the growing pressure on Billy Napier, who is already under intense scrutiny after leading Florida to back-to-back 7-loss seasons in his first 2 years. This loss makes it increasingly difficult to see how the Gators can achieve a significant turnaround this season. Florida faces what is arguably the toughest schedule in the country, and their hopes of reaching a bowl game, a minimum expectation for the program, are now in serious jeopardy. After facing an FCS opponent, Samford, in Week 2, the Gators will face number 20 Texas A&M, followed by a brutal midseason stretch that includes matchups against number 15 Tennessee, number 1 Georgia, number 4 Texas, number 13 LSU, and number 6 Ole Miss. The season concludes with a rivalry game against Florida State, a team that has shown significant improvement. Given this lineup, the loss to Miami feels like a missed opportunity that could have set a more positive tone for the season. The discontent among the Florida fanbase was palpable, and it was further fueled by a not-so-subtle retweet from former Gators coach Dan Mullen, now an ESPN analyst. Mullen, who was fired in 2021 after a disappointing 5-6 season, was once seen as a coach who could restore Florida to national prominence. His retweet served as a reminder of the program's recent decline, a decline that Napier has so far been unable to reverse. Napier's tenure has already made unwanted history. He is the first Florida coach to suffer back-to-back losing seasons since Raymond Wolf in the 1940s. Patience is wearing thin among the fanbase, and this loss has only made the situation more precarious. However, despite the mounting frustration, moving on from Napier mid-season would be financially challenging for Florida. His contract includes a $26 million buyout, making any potential change during the season costly. While the outlook is bleak, the season is still young, and there remains a slim chance for Napier to rally his team. If the Gators can somehow navigate their challenging schedule with a winning record, it would be a remarkable turnaround and a testament to Napier's coaching. However, based on their performance against Miami, such a turnaround appears highly unlikely. While Florida struggled, several other teams and players shined in the opening week of the 2024 season. The Hawkeyes did exactly what was expected of them, dismantling Illinois State 40-0. What stood out, however, was Iowa's offensive output. The Hawkeyes racked up 492 total yards, their highest since 2019. After a slow start, Iowa exploded in the second half, scoring 34 points. With a strong defense and a competent offense, Iowa looks poised to be a dangerous team in 2024. The true freshman wide receiver made an immediate impact in his debut for the Buckeyes. Smith caught 6 passes for 92 yards and 2 touchdowns in Ohio State's 52-6 rout of Akron. His performance included a highlight reel one-handed catch, signaling that he might already be one of the top receivers in college football. Another true freshman who impressed in Week 1 was Nebraska's Dylan Raiola. The highly touted quarterback completed 19 of 28 passes for 238 yards and 2 touchdowns in the Cornhuskers' 40-7 win over UTEP. Raiola looked poised and confident in his debut, and with a high-profile matchup against Colorado in Week 2, he has a chance to further establish himself as one of the nation's rising stars. After missing the entire 2023 season due to a knee injury, Cameron Rising returned in style. The Utah quarterback was incredibly efficient in a 63-3 victory over Southern Utah, throwing for 254 yards and 5 touchdowns on just 15 attempts. His top target, tight end Brant Kive, also made a successful return from injury, catching 3 of Rising's touchdown passes. The post-Nick Saban era at Alabama couldn't have started better. The Crimson Tide obliterated Western Kentucky 63-0, with quarterback Jalen Milroe completing 7 of 9 passes for 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. Freshman wide receiver Ryan Williams made a splash with 2 catches for 139 yards, including 2 touchdowns. Alabama's offense was unstoppable, racking up 600 yards on 65 plays. Back in Fayetteville as Arkansas's offensive coordinator, Bobby Petrino orchestrated a near-perfect offensive performance in a 70-0 win over Arkansas Pine Bluff. The Razorbacks scored 10 touchdowns on 10 possessions, amassing 687 yards without punting, kicking a field goal, or turning the ball over. Not all teams fared well in the season's opening weekend. Once a powerhouse in college football, Clemson's fall from grace continued with a 34-3 drubbing at the hands of number 1 Georgia. The Tigers, ranked number 14, have now gone 2 straight games without scoring a touchdown against the Bulldogs. Georgia's success in the transfer portal highlighted Clemson's reluctance to embrace the modern college football landscape, contributing to their decline from national title contention. The Hokies suffered a disappointing 34-27 overtime loss to Vanderbilt. Virginia Tech, considered a potential ACC title contender, fell behind 17-0 before mounting a comeback that ultimately fell short. Quarterback Kyron Drone's cramping issues late in the game were a factor, as the Hokies failed to capitalize on their second-half momentum. The Mountaineers' optimism following a 9-4 season in 2023 quickly dissipated after a 34-12 loss to Penn State. West Virginia's offense, particularly their rushing attack, was stifled, managing just 85 yards on 37 carries. To make matters worse, a lengthy weather delay added to the misery for fans. The Gophers lost a heartbreaker to North Carolina, 19-17, after missing a potential game-winning field goal as time expired. Despite holding the Tar Heels to just 252 total yards, Minnesota's offense couldn't capitalize, and their defense faltered at a crucial moment, allowing North Carolina to kick the go-ahead field goal with just under 2 minutes remaining.